Now, as far as today's information goes, I know our focus for this live session is mostly, throughout this month being Mental Health Month. So I definitely thought it would be important to focus on different breathing techniques, different stretching techniques that focus on improving our mental health. So there was a study done by the Mayo Clinic. So this is obviously, the Mayo Clinic is a super important, or a very, a high level medical establishment and hospital system. And so they did a bunch of studies on exercises and everything like that. And they found, overwhelming evidence that exercise, some of these breathing techniques, reduce anxiety and depression almost always. So any forms of exercise and stretching, breathing techniques will help to reduce anxiety, releases feel-good endorphins. So that those feelings when you get after doing some sort of exercise, running around, you kind of feel good a little bit. It releases those hormones, those endorphins that make you feel really good, like you accomplished something. Takes your mind off of your worries at hand. So it helps to distract you a little bit. I know a good distraction, a healthy distraction is something we can all use from time to time, but taking your mind off of maybe stresses at work or home, exercise helps to kind of distract you from, not that it's necessarily good to not address those things, but a temporary distraction to focus on your personal health is a very good thing. The next thing, gaining confidence. This again has been proven. Exercise, some of these breathing, stretching techniques have been proven to help increase gaining confidence through not just because you're feeling maybe stronger or healthier, but even also how you feel maybe in fitting and how you fit in your clothes and walking down the street or going to the beach. Different facets of how much that can help with gaining confidence. The last couple things here, more social interaction. I know over the last year and a half, social interaction has been maybe at times more unsafe, or can't even do any sort of social interaction. But even like what we're doing right now, I know it's not so much of a very direct social interaction, but we've all come together to learn about ways to help better our own health. So that, and then the last thing, coping in a healthy way. If there are things that you're dealing with, maybe family issues or medical issues, different things can really help to, exercise can really help to cope with those things in a healthier way, as opposed to other behaviors that might not be as healthy. So we won't get into all those details as far as that goes, but just really wanted to talk about a few facts with it being Mental Health Awareness Month. More so specifically wanted to talk about facts on how exercise helps our mental health. So thank you so much for kind of listening in on those. Now, when you are getting into doing exercises throughout the day, or if you're doing it once or twice a week, there are recommendations. And again, this is based off of studies done for years and years and years on how much exercise you should get or what you should be doing. As a whole, they do recommend exercising at least 3 to 5 times a week for at least 30 minutes per time. So at least 3 to 5 sessions a week of at least 30 or more minutes of exercise is where you're going to see the most benefit, not just for your overall, your heart health, maybe trying to maintain, lose weight, but also your mental health too. So really, really important stuff with that. So again, at least 3 to 5 times a week, at least 30 minutes a day. Also, having support from a mental health professional. If you know someone personally who's a mental health professional, or don't know somebody and you get in contact with someone, can be extremely beneficial, not only, of course, for your mental health, but which translates to also your overall physical health. And then the last thing, best way you can kind of get into exercise and make it more of a consistent thing is changing your mindset a little bit, making yourself view exercise as something that's not a chore. I know we have super busy long days sometimes, and the last thing you want to do is when you're done with work or you're getting home or you're getting off the computer, the last thing you want to do is go run around outside or go lift weights or something. Sometimes we're already physically and mentally exhausted by the end of the day, and that can be really tough. But if you can work on switching your mindset into thinking about exercise as not a chore, but something that you're doing for your own benefit or for your own sake, for your own health, it'll help to switch your mindset into thinking of it as a chore, as something that you genuinely enjoy doing, having that time to yourself. So those were just some a few more quick tidbits on different things you can do to kind of change your mindset into making exercise more a part of your consistent overall routine throughout the day and throughout the week. So as soon as you start to make that more of a routine, it becomes something that you do more consistently and makes your life a little bit better, feel a little bit healthier. So all that being said, thank you so much for listening in on that. Now we're going to go into, I felt like it would make the most sense to go into some breathing exercises, because with breathing exercises, it kind of helps to set the tone for the rest of the time. Not that we're going to be doing anything super intense as far as stretches go, but breathing exercises are really, really good in general that you can do just, even if you're not doing exercise at all, even if you're just seated at your desk, breathing exercises there are different breathing exercises you can do that can greatly impact your mental and physical health. So in a positive way. So the first thing I want to focus on now, we actually have done this breathing technique probably about a month or two ago. So it's been a little while, but we have done this breathing technique before. If you joined during that time, it's what's called the 4-7-8 breathing technique. So again, this is a breathing technique that was studied by the Mayo Clinic, by other health organizations. A lot of health benefits from this breathing technique. So how it works, 4 of the 4, 7, and 8, that 4 means we're going to inhale through our nose slowly for 4 seconds. So we'll count through to 4 as we're inhaling. The 7 of the 4, 7, and 8, we're going to hold our breath for 7 seconds. And then the 8 is our exhaling through our mouth for 8 seconds. So inhale for 4 seconds through our nose, pause and hold that breath for 7 seconds, exhale slowly for 8 seconds. Now, typically, you'd want to do this breathing exercise to see the most benefit from it. You'd want to do this breathing exercise for at least 5 minutes or so, at least 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes at most. We're not going to spend as much time on it, but I just felt like it would help to kind of teach you something that you can do easily anywhere, anytime, whether you're driving. Well, be careful if you're holding your breath, but if you're at work, driving, walking down the street, whatever you're doing, it's a really good one to do. So we're going to do this one together here. As you're breathing in, really focus on not just inhaling and just feeling your chest expand, but I really want you to focus on feeling your entire, almost like your chest and stomach expanding. That's what's called diaphragmatic breathing. Diaphragmatic breathing is an extremely important aspect of these breathing exercises, is breathing in that certain way. So as you're breathing, feel like you're trying to expand your stomach as you're inhaling. As you are you're going to feel your chest coming out, but also your stomach expanding as well. So as we're inhaling, I'm going to count to 4 seconds as we're inhaling. We're going to do that together here. On the count of 3, we're going to start to inhale for 4 seconds. All right, 1, 2, 3. Hold for 7. And exhale through your mouth. That was about 8 seconds. So we're going to do that a couple more times, just 2 more times. Remember, as you're inhaling, just inhaling through your nose. If you want to close your eyes and just kind of, shut everything out, just focus on your breathing. We're going to inhale for 4 more seconds. Here we go. And hold your breath for 7. And exhale through the mouth. By the time you get through that 8 seconds of exhaling, you should feel like you've expended all of the breath from your lungs. So we're going to do that 1 more time. So inhaling through the nose. Here we go. Go ahead and inhale. Hold. And exhale through the mouth. Hopefully you're already starting to feel a little bit more relaxed again. This was one of the most heavily studied breathing techniques that has been found to be the most beneficial. So super easy to do almost anywhere at any time. Obviously, if you're driving, don't shut your eyes while you're doing it. But a really good way to calm yourself down, reduce stress levels, reduce anxiety levels, reduce depression levels. We already talked a little bit briefly about diaphragmatic breathing. Now, I know as we were going into that breathing technique, diaphragmatic breathing, again, you shouldn't just feel, now when you do rapid breathing, typically you're going to feel just your lungs, typically just your chest expand. If you breathe in slowly, really focus on Nice deep breath. You'll also feel your stomach start to come out. And what is happening there, your diaphragm, so diaphragmatic breathing, your diaphragm is actually pushing down. It's having to expand to make room for the lungs. So as it's pushing down on your abdomen, that's what's building pressure in your abdomen and feeling like your stomach's, puffing out a little bit. That's a good thing. That means you're breathing, taking a nice, deep, slow breath. So you should feel that as you're inhaling nice and deep, your diaphragm starting to give a wall. Your diaphragm is a big muscle that kind of separates the lungs and heart from the abdomens and intestines and all the lower of your chest organs. So nice big breath, inhaling. As you're inhaling, those muscles relax and actually start to push down on the abdomen, pushing pressure out. So that's what's happening there, and that's why it's important to feel that sensation through that. Now, again, that's a really good breathing exercise. This next exercise isn't necessarily just a breathing exercise in and of itself, but it is a really good exercise as far as you can still focus on your breathing, but a really good way to reduce tension in the body, which generally is a result of stress and anxiety. So this is what's typically referred to as progressive muscle relaxation. So what you want to do, whether you're seated, hopefully you're seated right now, but if you're seated, maybe you're standing, that's okay too. What you want to do to be able to do this successfully is, of course, still focus on nice, even, steady breathing, but our main focus during this is going to be focusing on feeling tension in each main muscle group of our body and then releasing it. So what I mean by that is we're going to start from our lower body and work our way up. So what I want you to do first is feel like you're really clenching your feet, almost like you're trying to grab something with your foot, almost like a monkey's grab things with their feet, kind of like that feeling where you're really clenching your foot. Start off doing that for just a few seconds, and then allow yourself to feel your muscles fully relax in your feet. So release all that tension and let your feet fully relax. Good. Now we're going to move our way up to our calves. So I want you to focus now is with both legs, tighten your calves as much as possible. The best way to do that is feel like you're bringing your heels up off the ground. You're going to feel your calves tighten. Really tighten your calves nice and hard there for a few moments, and then slowly release that tension out of your calves. Good. We're going to move our way up now to our quads. I know you can't really see my legs probably from here, but I'm going to start tightening my quad muscles. Those are the muscles in the front of your legs. So really focus on you're clenching your legs really hard. You're going to feel that tension in your quads and also probably the back of your legs too and your hamstrings. Really focus on tightening those quad muscles here for just a few moments. If you're not already doing that, go ahead and do it now. Feel that tension. I feel that tension really good. Starting to get a little tired, and go and release. Slowly releasing that muscle, the tension in the muscle. We're going to keep working our way up now to our abdominal muscles. So your abdominal muscles, you're clenching, you're bearing down. You're going to feel that. It's kind of hard to breathe when you're doing it, but hold that tension in your abdominal muscles for a few moments. I'm feeling that tension there. And then go ahead and relax the abdominal muscles. I know I'm talking through this just so I can kind of explain how it would go. Typically, you would go through this on your own, at your own pace, in a peaceful, hopefully a peaceful, quiet setting. Maybe you have a little bit of music on, or it's completely silent when you do this, again. But when you do this, just focus on it, doing this at your own pace in a nice, peaceful way while you continue to just have nice, steady breathing. All right, so we're working up from our stomach. Now we're going to go up to our chest muscles here. You can kind of feel like you're almost bringing your shoulders together a little bit and really focusing on tightening those chest muscles. You're going to feel that tension, your pectoral muscles here. Feel that. Go ahead and release there. We're going to go to our arms now. So before we get up to kind of our neck up here, we're going to focus on almost like you're trying to make a big muscle with your bicep here, but focus on tightening your forearms and biceps. You don't have to bring your arms up to do that. We can do that from a seated position. Really tighten those arm muscles, clench those fists nice and hard, and go ahead and release that tension again. So last thing here, we're going to focus on kind of tensing the neck muscle, the neck and face muscles. This will be the last one we do, and then we'll move on to the next thing. But we're going to focus on tensing that neck and face. Here we go. Go and do it now. Feeling that tension in the neck a little bit. Obviously, don't tense too hard. I'm not trying to have you strain your neck, go ahead and release that tension there. And then go ahead and relax. So there's definitely ways you can do that for longer periods of time where you hold that tension longer, or do multiple rounds. So go through, from your feet to your head at least 2 or 3 times in a sitting, and you'll really start to feel the tension levels come down, maybe the stress and anxiety. That will definitely help to reduce those levels from that. So we've gone through a breathing exercise, we've gone through progressive muscle relaxation. I know we're kind of down to our home stretch here of this lifetime, so we're going to go through a few stretches. Now, these are somewhat of a combination of standard stretches, but also somewhat of a yoga focus as well. So a lot of yoga, many of the yoga poses almost are all inherently focused on stretching out muscle groups, flexibility. And so some of these are just standard stretches. Some of these kind of have a yoga emphasis too in terms of specific yoga poses. So I'm going to move back to this mat back here. If you have space to do this, great. If you're working from home, if you have like a towel or mat, or if you're on carpet, can really, really help with that. But what we're going to start with here is your child's pose. Now with your child's pose, I'm going to have you make your way. You're going to have your knees down here on the floor. You're going to kind of sit back into your heels. So you want to sort of bring your butt back toward your heels. And now I'm going to bring my hips down, reaching forward as far as I can with my arms, and stretching out as far as I can ahead of me as I bring my chest down to the floor. You're going to feel a good stretch in your back and shoulders. You're going to feel a good stretch in your abdominal muscles and chest. You're going to feel a good stretch in your glutes and hamstrings. This is a really good one to stretch a lot of muscle groups at one time. And release that tension. Go ahead and go ahead and get into that position. Hold right there. We're going to hold this for about 10 seconds, or about 10 or 15 more seconds here. Just focus on that nice, steady breathing. And go ahead and slowly make your way back up there. Hopefully you felt that really good in your back. Now these specific stretches were designed to stretch out a lot of the muscles that typically stay really, really tight or get tight from prolonged periods of sitting in a chair at a desk or a couch or a table. So these are really, really good ones for stretching out some of those muscles that get a little too tight and don't get the attention they deserve. This next one here, maybe you're familiar with this stretch, maybe you've seen the child's pose we just did. This next one is typically referred to as a cat-cow. It's because of how you look when you're doing it. Now, a cat-cow stretch is also a really good one for our back muscles, which is super tight from that seated position. So I'm going to have you get on all fours, so hands on the ground below my shoulders, knees on the ground below my hips here. So what I'm going to have you do is, I want to let you feel like relax those abdominal muscles and let your stomach fall toward the ground. You're going to feel that curve in your spine as your stomach kind of falls to the ground. Keep your shoulders up there, just relax as much as you can in the back and just let that stomach sag down a little bit. And now we're going to switch it up. Keep those abdominal muscles tight, bring the neck and head down and push the back up toward the ceiling. So now you feel like you have a curved spine. Hold that for a few seconds and we're going to go slowly back to our cow position. So the bottom part is a cow position, kind of like a cow with their guts or udders kind of hanging down. Kind of how we look during this, holding that, and then bringing it back up like a scared cat, like when a cat gets scared and they start to bring their spine up into that position and slowly back down. We're going to do this one more time from the cow position. So as we go back down to the cow position, our head and neck are coming back up and our chest and stomach are going down toward the ground. Nice, steady breathing. We're going to go one more time to that cat position as we bring our head neck down toward our chest and our stomach tucking it in toward our spine and slowly releasing there. So if you were doing that with me, hopefully you're really feeling some tension release there, a really good stretch in our back muscles, a really good one for that. Our next stretch here, as we're continuing to make our way through just a few of these stretches, are hip flexors. Now our hip flexors, if I had to narrow it down to one of the top 3 muscle groups that need to be stretched the most consistently, it's our hip flexors. Our hip flexors get extremely tight. We use them all the time when we're walking, but when we're in a seated position for hours and hours, in this seated position like this, our hip flexors get stuck. They get kind of used to being in that shorter position. So then when we stand up, a lot of times you stand up after hours, you notice how when you're walking around, you feel that tightness, and it takes a moment to stretch out and you feel a little tight and sore. That's those hip flexors and abdominal muscles that have gotten really tight from being in a seated position. So this stretch, we're going to focus on stretching those muscles out right in the front of our hips. So I'm going to get into what's called a runner's lunge position. So runner's lunge, I'll have 1 foot forward, 1 foot back. My back knee is going to come down to the floor. Now what you want to focus on here is keeping your chest up nice and tall, your eyes forward, and I'm going to push my hips forward. So as I push my hips forward, my knee comes forward a little bit, my chest comes forward, I still keep my eyes forward, but what you'll notice is, as you're holding that, you probably feel a good stretch in your other side. So I'll show you from this angle. As I push my hips forward, this muscle, this right here, starts to stretch out. Your hip flexors, especially, are what are stretching out here. So you're holding that position. I know it's not always the most comfortable position to be in, but it's a great stretch for these hip flexors. We're going to hold this for a few more seconds and we'll switch sides. If you're holding this position, or if you're not already in the position, go ahead and get in that now. Go and switch to the other side. Same thing on the other side here. So again, pushing the hips forward. Remember, keeping the chest up is nice and tall, keeping the eyes forward. You'll feel that stretch in your hip on the other side there. Again, really good stretch for those hip flexor muscles. All right, go and slowly bring it back up to the top. This is going to be our last stretch. Thank you so much again for staying focused during this time. Our last stretch of the day. Again, these are all stretches that are not only good to stretch or to focus on doing consistently as stretches in general, but really good stretches while we combine with our breathing focus, that diaphragmatic breathing while you're doing those stretches. Anxiety levels, stress levels, tension levels will all start to come down. So last stretch here is what's called a forward fold. So what I'm going to have you do here from a standing position, I'm going to have you kind of almost like you're hugging yourself. I want you to bring your arms across your chest or across your lower chest, almost like you're hugging yourself, or like you're cold and you're feeling like you're shaking and you're trying to keep yourself warm. Bring your arms across like that. Keep your feet about shoulder width apart at least here. And what you're going to do here, you're going to start to, I'm going to hinge forward at my hips. Now as I'm coming down, I don't want to bend my knees. I want to keep my legs as straight as possible. If you bend your knees a little bit, that's okay. Our main focus here is, again, it's another back stretch and stretching out our glute muscles, which also get, pretty tight from not using them as much as we should from sitting. So bring your arms across like you're hugging yourself almost, feet about shoulder width apart. And what you want to do is fold yourself over as far as you can until you can no longer fold anymore. So go ahead and start making your way down. You're going to feel that stretch also in your hamstrings. And you're going to feel that as you come down further and further in your back. Throughout almost the entirety of your body. You feel like you're folding in on yourself. Go and slowly come back up. We're going to do that one more time. Let that blood get back up to the head, back through the body. Again, like we're hugging ourselves, keeping those legs straight as possible, folding forward. And again, you should feel that pretty much all the way up the back of your legs, your butt, and your back muscles at the same time. Really good one for the back of the body here. You can even tuck the chin in toward the chest. And slowly coming back up. All right. So that is everything that we had for today's kind of stretch breathing meditation. I know there's a lot. This is like a topic that could, we could spend a week on, let alone 30 minutes. This is a very kind of a brief introduction into kind of breathing, meditative, stretching exercises. However, what I included today is widely considered to be some of the best forms of, or the best techniques for breathing, some of the best stretches you can do, and also focusing on kind of clearing the mind while you're doing those. So I greatly appreciate your time. It looks like we're right at 12:30. Thank you all so much for joining. If you're here, again, the link to all the announcements are in the chat box before you go. And then if you're seeing this after the fact and the recorded version of this, thank you again for tuning in. But thank you so much. Keep your eyes open for more Move Mondays coming up in the near future. I hope you have a really, really nice Monday. Again, thank you so much for joining. I'm Coach Brandon, and I'll see you guys soon. Thank you so much. Take care.